Do you like The Witcher? Have you played the games? Maybe you've just seen the show. Either way, we have everything you need to know about The Witcher's cast. Well, it's actually things you probably didn't know. We all like getting a little bit of juicy gossip every once in a while. Alright, are you ready? Grab a seat and relax, because we're about to start. First up, Henry Cavill is a stunt god. When it comes to who is going to play Geralt, Lauren was struggling to find someone who really embodied the character, so she gave Cavill another chance to try his luck, and he ended up impressing them, obviously. However, he made the decision that he was going to do all of his own stunts. He did this because he wanted to fully embody his character, and the only way he could think of doing that was doing the stunts. What do you think about actors who do their own stunts? Do you notice that Cavill did all of his own stunts for The Witcher? Next, Geralt's monologues were cut. Lauren Schmidt, the writer for the show, wrote loads when it came to Geralt. Apparently, he had loads of things to say, and Cavill did a good job doing it, but she ended up cutting a lot of it back when it came to actually performing it. You might be wondering why. Well, it's because she said his body language was absolutely on point. He was able to really express through his body language and facial expressions what he was thinking. Now, if we go back into the show and look at what Cavill does, Lauren is right. If he had more to say when it came to his character, then we wouldn't have gotten the Geralt that we got from Cavill. Instead, Cavill is portrayed someone who puts a lot of meaning into his words, and his body language does show a lot. To be honest, I just think he's a really good actor. What do you think would have changed if Geralt had more lines? Do you think it would have ruined the character? So, who was the hardest role to cast? Who do you think was the hardest person to cast? Do you think it was Geralt? Well, you're actually wrong. Shocking, I know. Yes, finding someone who could portray his role perfectly was hard, but they had a lot of options when it came to who to choose. Obviously, Cavill got it because he's amazing at that role. Well, the hardest person to cast was actually Jaskier. It took them a long time to find someone to play Jaskier, but why is that? It's obviously because they needed someone who was young, handsome, and someone who could play the lute. I'm sorry, but who actually knows how to play the lute nowadays? Well, Joey Beatty did, and he was easily chosen when it came to finding someone to play Jaskier. We can all see why now, because he can play the lute pretty well, and that's a skill that most people don't have. Did you guess that it was Geralt? Do you think Joey does a good job with Jaskier? Couldn't they have just taught someone how to play the lute? Now, onto Joey Beatty. Joey Beatty was the ultimate hide-and-seek character because they took forever to find someone to play Jaskier. However, he was chosen for a few reasons, like his lute playing, but there was something else. Do you know what it is? Do you want me to tell you? Okay, I'll just let you know. It's because he's also a singer-comedian. Having some knowledge and practice in being a singer-comedian really helped him get the role and sold him to the team. They wanted someone who was already kind of like Jaskier, and he was, so he became the number one choice. Did you know that about Joey Beatty? Do you think he's been using those skills for his character? The Game of Thrones connection. Did you know that there's a Game of Thrones connection? Well, if you're a fan, then you might have noticed, but who really knows? Anyways, 2 cast members from the HBO production are also in The Witcher. It's quite interesting to see that connection, because it's almost like most of the people from Game of Thrones moved into other genres. Anyways, Jodie May, who plays Queen Calenthe, also plays Maggie the Frog in Game of Thrones. Then you have Christopher Hivju, who played Tormund Giantsbane in Game of Thrones, joining the cast for season 2. Did you notice those 2 cast members before? I know I was a bit surprised when I figured it out, but it's always good to see a familiar face. What was your reaction when you found out? Were you surprised? Also, keep watching, because we have even more stuff you might not have known about the Witcher cast. Let's talk about Anya Buring. Have you played the Witcher games? Well, they're very popular and are based on the very successful book series by Andrzej Sapkowski. This fantasy world is full of monsters, and people can play with different characters in order to kill them, which makes it a very fun game to play. However, people don't always want to play with Geralt, because that can be a bit tiring every once in a while. Instead, people can also play with Anna Henrietta. She's a pretty solid character. However, this fun fact might surprise you if you weren't paying attention during the gameplay. Well, Anya Buring, who plays Tissaia de Vries, was also in the video game. Did you know that? She voiced Anna Henrietta in the 3rd game, which I don't think a lot of people caught when she joined the cast. I definitely think it's great to have someone who was so close to the games be part of the show. However, do you think that gave her a leg up when it came to getting the role? Think she knows a bit more about the game and show compared to other people? What was it like going from voice acting to live acting casting with a different character from the same story. Up next is Anya Chalotra. Yennefer is played by Anya Chalotra. There were some talks about her getting a body double for the show. Why? Well, it was because of her nude scenes. They were thinking about her getting a body double for her nude scenes so she wouldn't have to appear on camera. There was a lot of reservations, but she ended up declining this offer. Instead, she said that it was necessary that she portrayed her role properly after she saw what her first intimate act looked like. This might have been a bit of a heavy sacrifice for her, but she's done a great job of making sure she could portray her character the best that she could. Do you think it's necessary for actors and actresses to be naked in movies and shows? Will it really portray a character perfectly? Also, what about actors and actresses that don't want to perform naked, but are of a higher status? Why did they get an easy pass? Now, we have Freya Allan. Freya Allan plays CIRI, which is a sensitive role. She was actually cast to play someone else. During an interview, she said the whole casting experience was weird and confusing. I kind of think many of them are like that. She was then given the role of Marilka. Yes, Marilka was supposed to be played by Freya Allan. However, that didn't work out for her. She was even told that she was going to be Marilka because that was who she auditioned for. Then, Sophie Holland, who is the casting director, didn't like that decision. Instead, she spoke with Lauren Schmidt and they both came to the conclusion that she would be CIRI. The reason for the sudden change is that they believe that she is the vision they wanted for CIRI. And now, for Mahesh Jadoo. Mahesh is someone who loves playing a good villain, but he's not as well known for his roles. However, he is also very passionate about getting more people on his side when it comes to his character, and we think he's doing a pretty good job of that because his fan base is growing quite quickly, if I do say so myself. That's only a good thing though, because you want someone who is going to be doing loads of promotions in a good way. What do you think about Mahesh Jadoo? Do you recognize him from anywhere? Do you think he's good for his role? They weren't supposed to have any Game of Thrones actors. When the casting began, they didn't want to cast anyone who was in Game of Thrones. Maybe it was because people had already seen their faces for so many years and they wanted to bring in some new talent. Or maybe they were just done with seeing the same people everywhere. Either way, this didn't work out for them because they did end up casting a couple of people from the show. But it's okay. They're just meant to play medieval characters. Also, they're good people to cast because then they might have only gotten the publicity because of them. Do you think it was a smart move to not cast anyone from Game of Thrones? Well, that's the end of this video. You've learned some new things about the Witcher cast. I mean, I hope they're new things. Did any of them surprise you? Let us know down below.